Level 1. The Errand Boy. You don't know what you're carrying. That's the point. Man in your neighborhood gives you an envelope. Cash inside. He tells you to drop it at a restaurant on 5th Street. Ask for Marco. Hand it over. Leave. Don't count it. Don't open it. Don't ask questions. You do it in 11 minutes. He gives you $80. You don't think too hard about what just happened. The neighborhood has rules. One of them is that certain people give certain errands and you don't ask why. You grew up understanding this the way you understand weather. It simply is. Next week he calls again. Different envelope, different restaurant, same instruction. $80 again. By the 4th errand, you stop noticing the envelopes. By the 8th, you stop thinking about Marco. By the 12th, you have a regular Tuesday. You are not in the mafia. You are not a criminal. You are just someone who runs errands and gets paid cash and doesn't ask questions. That distinction will matter less and less as time goes on. Level 2, the cash carrier. The envelopes get heavier, not metaphorically, physically. You can feel the difference in your hand now. What started as a few hundred is now several thousand. You know this without counting. Weight tells you everything. You are given a bag now instead of an envelope. A simple gym bag, brown straps, nothing suspicious. You carry it on the subway. You carry it through crowds. You carry it into businesses and hand it to specific people and walk out without receipts. You learn something important. Nobody looks at the guy with the gym bag. Everyone is looking at their phone. Everyone is thinking about their own problems. Invisibility is not a superpower. It is just being ordinary in a world full of distracted people. Your pay increases. $300 per run now. Sometimes $400. You start to understand the shape of what you're part of. Not the details, just the shape. Money comes from somewhere. Money needs to get somewhere else. You are the bridge between those two places. Simple, clean. Yours is not to know the rest. Until one evening a man stops you outside the drop location. Plain clothes. Quiet voice. He shows you something in his jacket. Badge. He asks you one question. Where did you get the bag? You give him nothing. You know nothing to give. That was always the design. He lets you go. But something shifts that night. You realize the bridge you are has two sides. And both sides are watching. Level 3. The street converter. Cash is a problem at scale. You learn this slowly then, all at once. Large amounts of physical cash cannot simply be deposited. Banks ask questions. Banks file reports. Banks are the enemy of cash that cannot explain itself. So cash must become something else before it can become money again. You become the someone who handles that conversion. You work with 3 businesses now. A car wash, nail salon, a small restaurant. None of them belong to you officially. All of them serve your purpose completely. The process is simple. Cash from the street gets mixed with cash from the businesses. The businesses report slightly higher revenue than they actually earned. The difference gets absorbed. The cash becomes legitimate income. The income gets deposited. The deposit becomes clean money. You manage the numbers. You keep the ratios believable. A car wash that suddenly triples its revenue looks suspicious. A car wash that grows 15% monthly looks like a successful small business. You understand something now that most people never learn. The financial system is not designed to catch criminals. It is designed to process transactions. Criminals who understand that distinction stay invisible for a very long time. Your monthly earnings cross $8,000. You are no longer running errands. You are running systems. And systems can always be scaled. Level 4. The business front. You own 3 businesses on paper now: parking lot management company, a wholesale textile distributor, a property maintenance firm. None of them do significant real business. All of them do significant financial business. You have learned the art of the invoice. Fake services rendered between your companies. Consulting fees paid from one entity to another. Management contracts, licensing agreements. Each transaction documented. Each document professionally prepared. Each document completely fabricated. Money enters as dirty cash. Money exits as payment for services rendered. The paper trail is immaculate. The underlying reality is fiction. You employ an accountant now. He doesn't ask questions you can't answer. You selected him specifically for that quality. Monthly volume through your businesses, $340,000. Your personal cut, $24,000 a month. You have a car that matches your income, an apartment that matches your income, a life that makes complete sense on paper. You have become what the system cannot easily see. A legitimate businessman with legitimate paperwork and a very specific understanding of how money moves when no one is supposed to notice. The family notices, though. The right people always notice. And noticing leads to conversations about bigger responsibilities. Level 5. The layering specialist. One layer is not enough. You understand this now. A single conversion from cash to business revenue is traceable if someone looks carefully enough. What you need is distance. Not just one step between dirty and clean. Many steps. Each step making the previous one harder to find. You build a layering system. Cash enters your street businesses, gets converted to revenue. Revenue gets paid as consulting fees to a second company. Second company pays licensing fees to a third company registered in a different state. Third company pays management fees to a fourth company registered offshore. By the time money reaches the fourth layer, it has crossed 3 jurisdictions, 2 business types, and 4 different ownership structures. Tracing it requires resources most investigators don't have time to allocate to a case that doesn't have a body attached to it. You add cryptocurrency to the middle layers. Not because crypto is untraceable, it isn't, but because it adds technical complexity that slows investigators and creates additional jurisdictional confusion. You process $2.1 million in a single month. Your cut, $63,000. You have a system that works, clean, efficient, almost elegant. Almost. Because layering at this scale requires trust, and trust at this level requires relationships with people who have the same amount to lose as you do, which means you are no longer working alone. Level 6. The integration expert. The final stage is the hardest to explain. Integration is when dirty money completes its journey and re-enters the legitimate economy as something no one can question. Not layered, not converted, fully integrated. Indistinguishable from money that was always clean. You buy real estate now, not residential, commercial. Properties that generate actual rental income. Income that gets mixed with laundered funds and reported together. The mixture becomes impossible to separate even with the right documentation. You invest in legitimate businesses, minority stakes, silent partner arrangements, businesses that were already profitable before you arrived. Your investment looks like smart capital allocation. It is smart capital allocation. The source is the only problem. You sit on the board of a small private equity firm. You attend quarterly meetings. You wear a suit that costs $3,400. You speak the language of returns and projections and portfolio diversification. No one in that room knows. That is integration, not hiding, belonging. Your personal net worth on paper, $4.2 million. Completely defensible, completely documented. Almost entirely fiction layered over reality so many times the two have become the same thing. You have achieved something most people in this business never reach. Legitimacy, which is exactly when the family decides you are too valuable to remain independent. Level 7, the network coordinator. You stop working for one family, you start working for 3. Not by choice, by reputation. When you process money, this cleanly word travels through certain channels, the way water moves through pipes. Quietly, inevitably. 2 additional organizations approach through intermediaries. You are not an employee, you are a service provider. That distinction matters. It means you maintain distance. It means you maintain options. You coordinate now. You don't touch cash. You don't manage businesses directly. You oversee specialists at each layer, people who only know their piece. Nobody sees the full picture except you. Monthly volume across all 3 families, $11 million. Your coordination fee, 2%, $220,000 a month. You have built something that functions with precision and leaves almost nothing to find. Almost. Because 3 families means 3 sets of problems. 3 sets of people who might one day decide the coordinator knows too much to remain comfortable. You start thinking about that word. Comfortable is not a permanent state in this world. It is a warning. Level 8, the untouchable. Your name appears in a federal report, not your real name. A descriptor, the coordinator, 2 words in a 340-page document. You read it 3 times in a bathroom with a burner phone you destroy afterward. They know you exist. They don't know who you are. That gap is everything. You find 2 vulnerabilities in your structure. An accountant who has worked with you too long, a property manager who knows too many addresses. Both are quietly moved out of positions where they matter. You add another offshore layer, a jurisdiction requiring court orders from 3 separate countries to produce financial records. You are not untouchable because you are protected. You are untouchable because you are expensive to reach. Protected can be broken. Expensive to reach simply redirects investigators toward easier targets. You become the most boring version of yourself publicly. Quiet. Unremarkable. A businessman who attends charity events and pays his taxes. 6 months later, the federal report updates. The coordinator, unidentified. Status, low priority, low priority. It feels like nothing. That is how you know it is working. Level 9, the compromised. One of the 3 families gets hit. 42 arrests in a single morning. You watch the news with coffee in your hand and a completely steady pulse. Your structures connected to that family were isolated 18 months ago. You saw their security getting sloppy. You prepared quietly before it became necessary, but preparation has limits. 3 days later, a name surfaces, a financial coordinator connected to multiple crime families. No name given, but the description is specific enough to make your coffee taste different. Then your lawyer calls. The other lawyer, a cooperating witness, is describing the structure of a financial network to federal investigators in exchange for a reduced sentence. They don't have you, but they have the shape of you. You move $800,000 into structures so deep they would take a decade to unravel. You sever contact with the second family. You reduce volume with the third by 70%. You are not compromised yet, but adjacent to compromised is close enough to change everything. You sleep less. Not from fear, from calculation. There are too many variables now to stop running them. Level 10. The ghost. You retire before they retire you. No announcement, no final job, no farewell. You simply become unavailable. Gradually, then completely. Your exit looked like a promotion for someone else, not a disappearance. The money is distributed across 14 structures in 6 countries. No single structure holds more than $400,000. Nothing connected to your current identity. Your life now is smaller than you expected, not in comfort, in noise. You think about the car wash sometimes, the first business. The way numbers worked so cleanly when the ratios were right, before the scale made everything complicated. The federal investigation closed 14 months ago. Insufficient evidence. Case merged into a broader inquiry with no active leads. You are a cold case inside a cold case. Somewhere right now, someone is carrying an envelope for $80, telling themselves it's just an errand. You remember that feeling. You remember thinking you would stop before it became anything serious. The ghost of that person is the only thing left that still surprises you.